Hello, everyone. It's your host, Amanda Eke, and I have some amazing news. Starting this fall, The Poet Speaks is coming to your TV screens. Yes, that's right. After 8 amazing seasons as a podcast, The Poet Speaks with Amanda Eke is now a TV show, airing on the Archaeology Channel's new streaming service, Heritage. Everyone get ready for a visual feast of spoken word performances and deep dives into the minds of poets from all over the world. Now, something extraordinary is coming, and you won't want to miss a single moment. Stay tuned. Our next guest is a poet / spoken word artist from Grenadian descent. From Brooklyn, New York, she's now a bi-coastal girlie living, writing, and performing in both New York and California. She's performed for various organizations twice at the Pan-African Film Festival, Spoken Word Fest, and planned, produced, and performed her first 2 solo shows in 2022 and 2023. In April 2020, she released her debut poetry book, The Rise of the Dope Black Woman, under her pen name Trust. Is currently working on book number 2, set to be released in 2025. Welcome to the Poet Speaks podcast, Siggy Trust. Trust, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Now tell us, where are you at currently in the world right now? Where are we talking to you from?
I am in Brooklyn.
Awesome. Brooklyn, New York. There we go. Now
Yeah.
tell us a bit, born, so you said you're bi-coastal now. So what
Yes,
bi-coastal can mean different things to different people. So what does
right.
that mean? You live halfway of the year in Brooklyn, the other half in Cali. What's
Not
like?
even halfway the year, half the month at this point. I
Mm-hmm.
spent half my month in New York and I go back to California twice a month.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
What is what gives way? Is it just poetic inspiration going back and forth between the two coasts? What is the
Um, that's part of it. Uh, just doing some new life ventures.
mm,
So came to hang out in New York for a bit. Probably do this for a few more months, and then I may go back. Well, I'm always going to be bi-coastal because I moved to California back in 2017, and I spent most of my time there, but I would always come back here. I'm just at this point twice a month in each state, and I'll
wow.
do that for a bit, and then decide which state I'm gonna spend most of my time in.
Oh, that's lit. Okay. That sounds fun. Okay. All right. Well, tell us, again, you were born and raised, correct? In which coast? New York?
Yes.
Born and bred in New York. So tell us a little bit about what borough, and then tell us, did writing find you, or did you find writing in the childhood of a child living in New York City?
Ooh. So Brooklyn has always been Brooklyn. It's always going to be Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Born and bred. I lived here up until 2017. That was my golden year. At 27, I said, "Okay, let's try something new." So I went across the country, but spent most of my life in New York. Um, Writing, maybe it found me. I I can't really say. I've been writing my entire life. I don't even know. I don't know what inspired me. I can't remember when I first started writing. I just know I've been writing my entire life. Writing in my diary, writing just random short stories, poems. And people would just always see me with a book and always know I was writing. And my father would always say, I wouldn't share my writing with anyone, but he would say, you're always writing. You should write a book. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to put it on my bucket list. And I didn't think I was really going to do it. I just had it on my bucket list until, as we can see, I did it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So so tell me a bit about, where did the pen name then Trust? Where did that come from? What do you go by? Do you go by Siggy Trust, or is it Trust just when you write?
So when I write, so I handwrite everything and I sign it trust at the bottom.
Mm.
I've been doing that since I've been given the name. And it's funny. The first time I was ever asked that question, I was sitting in a room with a friend and they said, how you get the name Trust? And somebody was like, cause Trust her poems is gonna be fire. And that made us all laugh. I was like, oh, that's funny. I'm gonna use that. But really, someone that I love so much, God rest his soul, he gave me that name when I was younger. And He has since passed on, and I know he would love to see what I went on and did with this poetry thing. He was like one of the only people that knew what I was doing and what I was writing and would read my stuff and be like, oh, this is dope. So I still carry the name in his honor. But pretty much everybody knows me by Siggy. So even when I have my shows and I'm like, y'all gotta call me Trust, you gotta go with the poetry name. They like, yeah, no, I know Siggy. And I'm like, all right, see, I'm ruining the vibe.
All right, but for sure, for sure. Okay. Tell us a bit about that kind of, because you can hear it so clearly in your voice. Tell us how much of an influence just Brooklyn, New York has been on your poetry career and your writing in general.
So two of the greatest rappers, Biggie and Mos Def. And I tailored some of my writing around them. Like they would always shout out big Brooklyn in their work. And I'm like, yeah, me too. And somebody said, when I went I went to college upstate New York. And somebody said, people from Brooklyn always love to tell you from Brooklyn. And they don't stay in Brooklyn. They leave Brooklyn and want to tell you all about it. And I'm like, yeah, like what else are we supposed to do? So I took that with me to California. Like I was writing all these pieces and I would say Brooklyn in there. And people would be like, oh yeah, I hear it. Like the very first piece I did, someone said, I wonder where she from. And then I said Brooklyn and she was like, see, I knew it. I knew she wasn't from here. I'm like, yeah, everything I do, like just growing up in Brooklyn was just a beautiful experience. I love it so much. I take it with me everywhere. And I'm gonna make sure everybody know I'm from there.
Yeah, it seems like it's a very, like New York City. I was just in the city not too long ago. It just seems like it's a place where it's just, I would best describe New York City people as it's unforgettable. The good,
Agreed.
the bad, but it's an unforgettable place. Like it's just, there's so much going on. There's so much happening. What's one of your favorite parts? Like you said, it's a wonderful childhood to grow up there. But what was one of your favorite memories of growing up in Brooklyn?
Ooh, it gotta be hanging out on the block after school weekends. Like all my homegirls, the homeboys was on the block, and my block, it was like four of us, me and my homegirls, and we would play double dutch and we would battle the people on the other block. And they knew the 94th girls, we got it. Like, y'all wasn't even messing with us. Oh man, it was good times.
Yeah, we're absolutely, absolutely. Tell us a bit about kind of just, if people can even just imagine people from all over the world listen to the show, but I'm sure people can only imagine that have not been to New York City. Talk about how just fruitful and vivacious that spoken word open mic scene really is.
So what's crazy is that I didn't get into the scene until later in my life. So, like I said, I've been writing since I was a little girl. And I didn't even know all the places like poetry existed and poetry could be. It wasn't until I got to high school, and that was like probably my senior year, where my English teacher, she knew some of us wrote poetry. So she let us start a poetry club in her class, and we would be there during lunch, and she introduced us to Def Poetry Jam. I was like, whoa, what is this? And I would watch those videos every day. And then she took us, I remember one time we went to a library and we were able to perform. And I was performing, I was looking around at these other poets like, wow, this is a thing. Like people actually do this. And I didn't even know it was a scene. And then it wasn't until years later when I moved to California, got into the poetry scene, that I like found, like I always knew about New Rican and it's on my bucket list to perform there. And but once I started like becoming truly into my poetry, I was like, yo, this scene is fire, like in all the states. And then I was like, of course, it's always Brooklyn for me. So I was looking at all the different scenes and I'm like, it was fire. And I started following like a bunch of poets out here in New York City. And I'm just like, oh yeah, it's time to go home and start making my name over there too.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. That's quite a journey to go through. What makes you think you didn't realize that scene was out there till much later in your life? What was kind of hindering you a bit? What do you think that was?
I don't even think there was anything so much hindering me. I just feel like I wasn't exposed. Like I'm the
Mm,
only like I didn't have poets or other writers in my family in New York that were like going to these spaces that I could know about them. So it wasn't until, like I said, the high school teacher told us about Def Poetry Jam. Because when I was growing up, I didn't have cable, so I didn't even know that was a thing. She introduced it, and I was like, oh, look what's going on. Like people is actually performing poetry. Because I just wrote in my little book and I never saw it going beyond that. So to see me, and also like I was a little shy person, I didn't want to share nothing. And now to see me just doing poetry and people are like, oh, do you do bookings? And I'm like, absolutely. And I just get on the stage and rock it. And yo, how did I not know about this when I was younger? But like it just passed me by. And I look back at it like, I saw all the ways, in hindsight is 2020, and I see all the ways where I'm like, oh, I always been dope. And like people always knew that. And if they would have like told me what was going on, I probably could have gotten to this a lot sooner, faster.
yeah,
But
yeah. It really, no, really is sometimes is like that. But it kind of makes you wonder, why do we need the validation of other people? You kind of hit that on the head a little bit. Like I've always known that I had that in me already. So no,
right.
that's an interesting viewpoint. So tell me a bit about, I mean, your life in Brooklyn, your childhood in Brooklyn. What are some of the inspirations you draw from for your writing, especially for that debut poetry collection book that you had, which we'll get into in a minute?
So just life, daily life, like hanging out with my friends, like seeing what was going on in the world. Like I could look at anything and just find a poem in it.
Mm,
Oh, y'all acting crazy. I got a poem for this. Oh, that's so beautiful. Look at the sky. I got a poem for this. Like I can draw from anything.
yeah.
And especially being in a place where, so like with my Caribbean background and being so close, like there's this thing that takes place every Memorial Day weekend, which just so happens to be my birthday weekend. So sometimes it would fall on my birthday. And I got the pleasure of going to Dance Africa downtown Brooklyn every year. And so just that honoring the ancestors. So a lot of my writing comes honoring Black people, honoring women, the ancestors. Like I drew from everything around me, just
Mm.
the, just everything. And like I said, then we had rappers like Biggie, and I'm just like, oh yeah, he was fire. So my stuff just naturally gonna have to be fire. Like I gotta represent for Brooklyn. Like, hello.
Yeah, that absolutely. So tell us, let's get into it. Your debut poetry collection was The Rise of Adult Black Woman, released in April 2020. So I believe that was in the thick of the panorama. So
Yes.
tell us a bit about the process to kind of get that pushed through, to get it published. Again, congratulations. And tell us about releasing a debut during that period of life, during the pandemic.
Right. So, that was an experience. And I feel like I still never truly got to honor her the way she needed to be
Mm,
honored
mm,
because
mhm.
you can't go back.
Yeah, you
And
can. You
it
can.
it was like I had such big plans for that book, but like that's my baby. I love her still. She right here.
Nice,
It's
nice.
my book. So this book was years in the making, obviously, because I've been writing forever. And like I said, my father was like, oh, you should write a book. And I'm like, yeah, right, we'll see. But it wasn't until I moved to California in 2017, I was part of this national organization. So I'm like, okay, when I moved, I was like, okay, let me start doing some new things and saying things I never said before. So I would never tell anybody that I was a poet. So when I was introducing myself to these women, I was like, okay, so I write poetry. And one of them came up to me afterwards and she was like, oh, I'm planning our Black History program. I would like you to do a poem. I'm like, okay, I guess. I said I was doing new things. So I wrote this poem called The History of the Dope Black Woman. And that poem has taken me everywhere, apparently. Like that was my debut to doing this the way I do it now. So I wrote that poem, and one of the last rehearsals before the show, someone was standing there watching me, and she was like, "Oh, how long you been doing this?" And I'm like, "This gonna be like my first time really doing it." And she was like, "No way! Like you had to have been doing this." And I'm like, "Nah." And she was just so impressed. And then when I did the poem, like people came up to me after and they were like, "Do you have that in a book somewhere? Like, I need that." And I was like,
Mm.
"No." And people kept asking me about it. And people were like, "Oh, do you like do this? Like, can I book you for something? Because that was great. And I want you to do that at this event." And I was like, all right. So then I started talking to people about, oh, so it seemed like people were trying to, like someone asked me, "Oh, how much do you charge?" And I said, "Charge?" I
Mm.
said, "Oh, all right." So I started gathering like intel on, okay, what can I really do with this? And so when people started, and then someone asked me to write a different poem, and I did that, and the feedback was again amazing. And people were asking about a book. So I was like, all right, let me write this book. So I pulled from all the poems that I had, and I put the cream of the crop, if you will, together. And I thought this was gonna be a lot easier than it was. Like I pulled all these poems together, and I had it in a little regular Microsoft Word document, and I sent it off to the publisher. I self-published. I sent it off to the publisher, and they were like, "Baby, what is this?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh no, that's not how this works. Like you need to get this formatted into a book with the cover and everything." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So they were like, "Okay, we got some recommendations." So they gave me two recommendations. And but just reading the names, I said, "Oh, this one sounds like a black lady. So I'm gonna call this person." So I called her, and she did not get back to me. And I was like, okay, I might have to move on to the other person. But eventually she got back to me like 2 weeks later, and she was like, "Do you still need me? I was on vacation." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was kind of holding out for you because I thought you was a black lady." And she was like, "I am a black lady." I was like, "Okay, well, there we go." So she helped me format everything, and she put it together, and she was amazing. And then the book went out to the publishers. When they sent me a copy, I was holding it in my hand, and I was like, wow. And then I approved it, and they sent me all the copies. And that came out like, I want to say I got them on like April 7th, 2020. And I was like trying to find the right time, like, oh, when should I drop this? Should I wait till May, make it like a birthday thing? Cause my birthday already ruined with the pandemic. And I was like, girl, just drop it now. And I just randomly posted it like April 9th. I remember it was a Friday, and I just posted it online, like, look what I did. And everybody was like, girl, what? And everybody was like, oh, how much they cost? Send me a copy. And I was like, okay, look at that. And it was just a beautiful experience. And it just sucks that it happened to me during the pandemic. Because like I had a book launch plans and everything, and none
Yeah.
of that could happen. And then someone was like, yo, you should still do a Zoom to get it out there. So I had done a Zoom in like July, and like the feedback, like everybody and their mama was in that Zoom. And they were like, we gotta get you on Oprah. Like they was like, we gotta push this book. And I was like, all right, well, tell your homies and tell them buy a copy. Like, let's get this going then. But it's been really awesome. However, I don't talk about it much because I'm not too good at that. I'm trying to get more into it. And so I'm like, okay, if people ask me to come on shows like this, let me start talking about it. Because people be like, wait, you got a book? And I was like, yeah, you can perform it. Like, we can book you for stuff. Like, why don't I know this? And I'm like, I got to do a better job at that because it's more of like word of mouth. But I'm like, I got to tell y'all these things too. So when people find out I got a book, they like, oh, where can I get a copy? I'm like, oh, they in my trunk. And so I just this has been my baby. And some people, like one of my homegirls on the block, she like she read it in 5 minutes, and she like, when the next one coming out? And I'm like, oh, please don't harass me like that. Like nobody told you to read it that fast. So now I'm over here like, by the time I make book 2, I gotta have book 3 in the making too, because apparently y'all feeling it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Congratulations. That's amazing. That I can relate to what you're saying. I think a lot of people can relate to. It was this idea how you said I just put my book together, gave it to the publisher, and it wasn't it wasn't as easy as that. And they're like, well, no, you gotta reform, you know what I mean? All them
Right.
steps. And I think people don't even realize like because it's like at that point you basically reached your dream. You're in contact with a publisher,
Right.
but then it's like now to maintain your dream, all the steps that go into it that people don't talk about enough, right? It's one thing when you're dreaming, but then when you're living in the reality, it's like, oh wow, like it's so much to get a book together, right? So much to put a book out into the world. It's like I would say, maybe you tell me if you agree, I'd say like 20% is the creativity artistic, 80% is the business side.
Right. Absolutely agreed. Oh man. Like I thought the book was gonna come out so fast. By the time I put it together in like October and I was like, oh, by the end of November it's lit. Maybe that book didn't come out. We didn't finally get it to the publisher till like March. I was like, oh, okay. This was not what I had planned for. And so when people would ask me after that, like, oh, can you help me how to get into the like writing my own book? I want to publish a book. I said, yeah, baby, let me tell you all the steps because you don't need to be running into no roadblocks like I did.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. It's so much to make. It's like it's you're making a process that's so unnatural and so hard, making it look easy. Just coming, showing your book at the book launch, all those things. So, but congratulations, and that's such amazing thing. Tell us a bit about the title, of The Rise of the Dope Black Woman. I mean, we already know what that means, but tell us from your perspective, why was that your debut name? Tell us just a bit about that.
Okay. So, like I said, the piece that like started everything off was the history of the dope black woman. So, and people started calling me that. Like to this day in California, they still call me that. Like, hey, dope black woman. And so I was like, okay, let me keep going with this theme. And I was like, okay, the book covers. So men can find themselves in this book too, and I'm sure anyone could. But it's really written for the dope black woman, and it's like it's set in different chapters. Like I have a love and heartbreak. I have a section for like dreaming and letting things go. And so it's like it progresses from kind of like your starting place in life to different things that you would go through in life. And I'm just like, it shows the evolution of the dope black woman, like when she was down and then when she made it all the way up and all the things in between. So I was like, the rise of the dope black woman. That's kind of how I settled on that. And I'm like, okay, I think that sounds good. But I like didn't consult with anybody on anything about this book. Like it was like that could have went a whole lot differently if people were like, you should ask for some feedback because this was actually whack. But it turned out amazing. Like people loved the cover, they loved the title, and I'm like, okay, I did a good job. The next book, I might tap in with some people a little bit just because, you know, it was cute the first time. I was surprised. This time, like, y'all know a second book is coming out, so I might tap into some of y'all.
For sure, for sure. So what is I know the feedback from what you've said so far, it's been great, but so are you saying you've gotten mixed too? Both very positive, then some having some nonchalant critique?
Nope, I haven't received any negative feedback. So if anybody did not think it was dope, they did not tell me, and that's good. They would keep it to themselves.
For sure, for
Nah,
sure. No, that's
I'm
such a good.
playing. No,
Yeah.
if they thought there was something that needed to be, tweaked or something, or I got some recommendations for your next book. Okay, as long as you don't come with it stink, I I take I take feedback. I take positive
Sure.
feedback. But yeah, nobody told me that
Yeah.
it like people, even when I would like do I recently started like doing vendor events because when I performed at a couple of events in these last couple months and they were like, oh, bring your book. And so I would bring my book and I was selling it and people would look through it and they'd be like, oh, this is really cute. And like I have some pictures of some of the poems that I wrote. I have the actual handwritten poem pictures in there. Like, oh, this is so cute. It's so creative. And like they just look in the book and they're just like, okay, I'm gonna buy this off rip. And then I remember that one of the first performances I did a vendor event at, um, someone just bought the book on a whim. And then when I was up there performing, they was like, oh, this was one of my best decisions. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I I hope it always continues like that. Like I knock people off their feet and they like, oh, I did a good thing getting this book.
Word. Absolutely, absolutely. So you said that the book is now taking you all over. Tell us about some of the places you've done, being able to do vendors. Tell us
Um,
about all those kind of guest events and stuff.
yes. So I've done for some national organizations, I've been able to come to their biggest events and perform and then sell my book after and talk to people. And then I've been meeting people. So when they see me at those events and I see them later at other events, they're like, oh, you're that poet. I need your card. People have been booking me once they see me at one event and booking me for other events. I've done private events. Like someone saw me at an event and I did a tribute to Aretha Franklin. And she said, oh, my mother's 90th birthday is next week. She loves Aretha. Can I book you to come perform this piece for her? And I was like, absolutely. And I was just at her mother's 90th birthday, just doing this piece. And I'm like, yo, this is fire. And so I've done that. Like I had in my bio, I've done the spoken word fest, Pan African Film Festival, spoken word fest. I did that for 2 years. Um, Someone recently asked me to vendor at a Juneteenth event, so I had did that. Someone bought a book, and then a couple months later, text me and was like, hey, I saw this piece in this book. Are you available to come to this event and perform it? And I'm like, yep, absolutely. Unless there's something on my calendar, I'm always available. I'm coming. I'm going to do it. Because at this point, people have been seeing me. And the more exposure I give myself by going out to these events, and I don't work for free. So I be getting paid at these events. Because a lot of people, they do expect artists to work for free. And they're like, oh, it pays an exposure. No, baby, I can expose myself while you still pay me. So I've been doing these events and people see me at them and they're like, okay, I want to put you on my roster. Like just recently, I did a poem for the organization that I'm in. So we were having an event. So I did a poem and the girl who I was talking to, it was supposed to be a group of people, only one person showed up. And we were like, we're going forward with the program anyway. And I did the piece and she was so emotional. And I'm like, yo, this is what I do it for. Like at this point, I've realized like the more I perform, someone always comes to me and tells me how what I said touched them. And at this point, I realized this is my ministry. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And when she got emotional and someone came to me after and was like, do you do this normally or did you just do that for today? Because like whichever one it is, like you got a real talent. You can actually do something with that. And the people around all knew that I do this. They were like, oh no, she does this. And she was like, oh, well, I might have to book you for something. Like, let me see what I got coming up because that was amazing. And I'm like, yeah, this, it's time for me to ramp this up. Like start telling people that I'm doing this. Cause like, if you look at my social media, even though my page is supposed to portray that I am a poet, you don't really see that. I got things that's just waiting to be posted. And I'm like, all right, I got to take this a little more seriously because like I'm out here changing lives, including my own. So like we got to ramp this up, baby.
Absolutely. No, congratulations on all the success and wishing you so much more. I love what you said. It's like you realize this was your ministry. That's a beautiful thing to come to that realization. So tell us, 2025, we're looking towards another installment, another book. Tell us a bit about what does the world have to look forward to coming from Trust?
Ooh, I'm be honest. I don't even know. I don't even know because I thought this book was coming out in 2024. Also, in my in my daytime life, I am an accountant, and right now I'm sitting in the middle of busy season. So sometimes that takes precedent, if you will, of my life. And so sometimes I think I'm writing, and then I'm like, okay, I got to put things on hold. And then by the time I get back to it, I'm like, I've already had all these ideas and shifts, and I'm like, ooh, we going a different direction. So I done already took this book in like three different directions over the past year. So when my last deadline is up on 10/15, then we gonna hit the ground running and we gonna see exactly where the book is gonna go. But I have like three different titles, which will all be used. It's just which one gonna get used first. And I think I know where it's going. I think I know which book is coming out next. So
For
it's
sure.
just we all gonna see.
Yeah, we gonna see. We gonna see. But we'll keep up to date. All right. Well, you know what? You dropped some amazing gems. We really enjoyed just hearing. It's so obvious. Your passion is just so it vibrates through the screen. It vibrates when you speak. Tell us a bit about it. Was there one kind of moment in your life where you realized you were a writer?
Yeah. In in high school, I think in my freshman year of high school, I we had an assignment to do and we had to write like something for every letter of the alphabet. And I don't even remember what was the purpose of this assignment, honestly. And so, but we had to be like super creative with it. And so everybody did their project and everybody got their grades, and then we all had to present to the class. So now I do mine and I write this full on, like, baby, I don't even remember what I wrote. I just remember it was so detailed and it had to be fire because when I finished reading it, the class was like, yo, you got 100? Like, I hope you got 100. And I was like, nah, she gave me a 76. And they was like, nah, there's no way you gave her a 76. And they was ragging on the teacher. And she was like, okay, I'm going to reread it and regrade it. They was like, nah, you need to give her 100. And so then she went back and she changed the grade. It was 90 something. But at that point, I was like, yo, like I just randomly wrote this. Like I was just trying to do the assignment, you know? And this is one of the first things I've ever had to share with people because people always be like, oh, can I read your book? Like, what you writing? And I'll be like, nah, man, this for me only. And so that was the one thing that I had to share. And everybody was like, yo, this is fire. And that wasn't even a poem. So I didn't even know like I could just garner so much from people just listening to my words, which is why I had mentioned earlier, like in hindsight, you see all these things where you're like, yo, I was really doing this before and I just wasn't aware. Like I could think back now and was like, yeah, that's the moment. Like I knew I was a writer or like I performed these two poems once. Um, and this was years ago back in New York. And someone had asked me, they were like, oh, can I get a copy of those? Because I want to use it somewhere. And I was hesitant because I have been in a situation before where I play music and I wrote a song for my piano teacher. He had us as assignment write a song. I wrote a song and he later, years later, he came to me and was like, oh, I need you to sign over the rights to this song to me, or else I'm gonna just take it. And at that point, when I told my father, we learned all about copywriting. And so I would always copyright my stuff. And I was very hesitant about putting it out into the world because I'm like, oh, y'all over here trying to steal. And I'm like, I I see some power in this if y'all over here trying to steal, you know? So it's like once I see these things, and then once somebody told me she was like, oh, God told me you're not meant to be an accountant. And I'm like, well, did he tell you what I'm supposed to be doing? Because, baby, I don't got all the time in the world to be wasting. So I look back on these things and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I was supposed to be doing, writing. And I always knew, but you never know until it's timing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You never know till it's that timing, that divine timing, the sacred geometry of life. No, that's something. No, that's the audacity of that teacher. Sign the rights away. That's wild. How wow. That is
Yeah.
wild.
Right.
Yeah. That's really wild. I've never seen nothing like that before. But thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Well, last question we ask every amazing poet on the Poet Speaks podcast. Trust, why do you need to get your words out?
Whew. I feel like my words, they heal somebody. And maybe that somebody is just me, but I know it's not only me because people come up and tell me things like I had written this one piece. Someone said she was celebrating her 25th birthday. She said, oh, I want to get you out to like all my friends. I think you super dope. I want you to write something that people in our age group, 25 to 30, can relate to. So I wrote this piece called Push On. And when I was finished, one of her homeboys came up to me and was like, yo, I needed that. And that was the first time of many times after that that someone would come up to me like so emotional, like I needed that. And I'm like, every time y'all say I needed that, yeah, I needed that too. Like I I see how my words are like changing y'all lives, and maybe that's just what I need to continue changing mine. So it's like it's twofold. Like I am giving somebody, like my words are giving power to someone, and to see y'all like you mentioned before, audacity, right? To see y'all have the audacity to just do these things in life and know that my words help you power through that. Like, what a beautiful feeling to know that I'm changing the world with just words, right? And so I feel like it's it's not even a privilege, like it's a necessity for me to do this. Like, and that's why I keep trying to tell myself, like every time I'm just like, oh, stay in your bubble, I'm like, nah, because they need this. Like clearly it is your ministry. So you're gonna have to find a way to push through whatever you got going on with you, why you feel like I should small yourself up and do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. So that's why she needs to get her words out, y'all. All right, well, Trust, tell me what's next for you in 2024, and it's almost 2025 at this point. What's next for you towards the last quarter of the year? And where can folks find your amazing work at? Any social media links, website? Please tell the folks.
Okay. So for 2024, so next week, is it next week already? I think so. October 4th. Yes, next Friday. October 4th, I will be in my first slam poetry. I will be doing, that was one of the things, like, I was like, should I start doing slam poetry? Because someone told me that. They saw me at an event and was like, do you do slam? And I was like, no. And they were like, yeah, you probably should. And so I've been thinking about it. And then I was presented with an opportunity to do it. And the theme is Speak Your Roots. And I had always wanted to write a piece about my Grenadian roots. And I was like, what are the odds that the two things that I always wanted to do are coming together as an opportunity? So I'm gonna be doing my first slam, and we're gonna see if I continue doing that, how that go. So I'm gonna be doing that. I would like to put on one more show before the end of the year. So I started my first solo show in 2022. And I had one in 23, and both of them were in California. I would like to bring a New York show. I was slated to do one a couple weeks ago, but that had to be put on pause. So before the end of the year, I may do one there, or I may take one back to Cali. Um, And yeah, just working on the book to get ready for a 2025 launch. And whatever little sprinkles fall in my lap, taking all of them.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Whatever falls in our laps, may we just take it and run with it to the finish line. There we go.
Yes,
I absolutely love that. And tell us again, what are your links for folks to come check out? What website, social media links for us?
Yes. So the website is trustthequietforce.com. Social media, they're all trust.thequietforce. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think those are the three that I'm on. I use Instagram the most. I'm trying to get more into TikTok because every time I post on TikTok, I get an influx of people and I don't post there often. So I probably should be doing that more in my quest to put myself out there more. So that's how y'all can follow me. Trying to share more of my work and my life. I got poems set to start posting, starting with the one that I recently did that had the young lady emotional because someone was just talking to me about that poem and they were like, I'm still so caught up on like how that happened. And I was like, yeah, right. Seems like that's the first piece I should post on my way back to social media. So I'll post that one and hopefully keep posting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everyone, all of Trust's links will be down in the description box below, no matter where you listen to this podcast at. Again, in the description box down below, no matter the platform you listen to this podcast at. All right, Trust. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Poet Speaks podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, everyone go check out all Trust's amazing work. Check out the Poet Speaks podcast, no matter where you listen to your podcast. All right, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.